How to earn passive income in real estate with $1,000. So $1,000 is $1,000. So don't get overly excited about how much passive income you're going to make on that, because even if you make 10%, it's $100. So let's begin. How can you start with 1,000? I'm going to go into several items. Number two, why REITs and crowdfunding is another option and some of the pros and cons of that. And then last, what you should do and should not do when you start investing. So number one, I'm just going to start with the answer to that last question a little bit, which is you need to engage and learn and really lean in. So many of you want just emotionally quick fixes, little band-aids here and there, but you don't have a full plan. And with 1,000, most of the deals you can't get into with that kind of money. Here's what you can do for $1,000. So start with fractional ownership. So fractional ownership uses crowdfunding platforms. So there's all sorts of what's called Reg A, Regulation A investment platforms, where you can go buy $50, $100, $500. There might be a limit, so it's up to them how they want to put it together on the platform. You can buy into a REIT that pays a dividend. That's typically through a stock market exchange. And then number three, you can join partnerships and syndications only if the minimums are $1,000. So most syndications are for accredited investors only, and the minimums are usually $25,000. The bigger syndications are $250,000 to get in, sometimes $100,000. So syndications is probably a little far off, but I know there's a few that do have the combination of a Reg A offering for those of you that are not accredited, and then those of you that are accredited, but your minimums again are going to be $25,000 or more, most likely. So there's a way to get in. When I got in for nothing, not even $1,000. Well, I had to fly myself to Oklahoma, but I joined a group. So I joined a big partnership group that they did do syndications. And I said, well, I don't want to do a syndication. I just want to buy a bunch of real estate in the Oklahoma City and Norman, Oklahoma market. So we put together LLCs and we bought. So it was very privately done, but I took a percent because I came with an 18,000 person database that I had acquired and accumulated over years and years of working in the Rich Dad Poor Dad team and teaching the cash flow game. So I had 18,000 names, and that was enough to add myself into a partnership. So I got some equity by bringing my database to that team, who then continued to activate and use it. So there's all sorts of ways to get with other people, but I'm going to tell you overall, my overall theme of why I've been successful in real estate is I always do deals with people who know way more than me. I'm not actively in the markets, especially now. I'm very, I'd say, pactive, meaning I'm passive, but I'm active with 2 or 3 different people who buy most of my real estate in other markets, mostly Midwest markets. I've always invested in the Midwest. It's not just because I'm from Nebraska. The rent and the what we call forced appreciation and rent, it's easier to acquire in the Midwest for whatever reason. So anywhere between, I've been in obviously Nebraska, Ohio, Indiana, Missouri, Kansas, Texas, Oklahoma. Those markets are great markets. I still like the Kansas market right now, is a big one that I'm in with a variety of people. Again, they do this every day. So they're in the streets doing the work. So if what you have is time and you don't have money, but you have credit, you go to those kinds of groups and say, I can bring my credit. Credit is a huge asset when it comes to a real estate transaction to get the mortgage. Just be mindful, you need to make sure that mortgage is paid or your credit will get hit. Other ways that you can get in, you can start small and just get dividends off of dividend stocks. Again, you do that through a REIT. Other ways you can get in is, I have a lot of people who maybe only have $1,000, but they'll get into the real estate sector by brokering Airbnbs or VRBOs. So you find people that need help marketing their property, and you take a 10 or 20% split between bringing the renter or the tenant to them, whether short-term or long-term. All sorts of ways to get into that, or wholesaling. Wholesaling is, again, when you find the actual property and then you want to find a buyer and a seller and put them together. People think that's easier than it is. I think, again, if you're not deep into the markets, connected to brokers and lenders and where the market's really moving, you're standing way outside of the arena and you're not even on the playing field. So it makes it more difficult. So I kind of counter that you can just get in for 1,000 and do a bunch of passive income. I'd say of all the options we've talked about, either the REIT getting dividend stocks or crowdfunding getting into some of those Reg A offerings are probably your best bets, just to lean in and learn. Now, before I continue, I want you here 5 days a week. So make sure you click that notification button, subscribing to my channel, that you get a video 5 days a week, all the way down to your 5-year-old. I want your family engaged. So now you can put this conversation at your kitchen table, start talking about money, start talking about real estate. When you're driving around, don't just all sit on your phones and just chat. Look around. Somebody owns every piece of real estate in your town. Why don't you own more? Those are the conversations to have with your kids. What could you buy? What could you do? What kind of property could you buy and put a tenant in so they become, the renter? Early stages of my kids' development, we bought cool assets like laundromats are fun for kids, car washes. If you buy the old school ones, the new automated big ones cost almost $1 million to get into because the automation and all of that manufacturing costs so much. But there's a lot of just real estate businesses you can get into just by looking around and start a family legacy. Start buying some stuff together even though your kids can't really get into it. Now, the last thing about getting passive income on $1,000 is do treat the 1,000 like it's an investment. So you could put it into iFlip, which I have a link to that software below. So you could start there and you could buy into some folios that way, get some REITs that pay dividends or different projects that pay dividends, or go look at some Reg A crowdfunding and crowdsourcing. Don't blow on speculative flips. I don't know how many people, like I have new people that go around to 10 friends and say, we're all going to put in $1,000. I've seen this happen. And then you speculatively, all beginners, go try to flip a house for $10,000 or $20,000. It doesn't work that way. It's way more sophisticated, so don't get hooked into that. And really, what I would do is I look side by side. If they haven't done deals before, why are you a bunch of beginners doing deals? You should be leaning up and looking up. I've had mentors since I was 17. I can't imagine doing any of the stuff I do without someone who's already played a bigger game. Entering somewhere without some guidance is a dangerous model, no matter what you're doing. And last, think long term. Grab that compounding calculator and put in 1,000, add 100 or 200 a month to it. Say you could make 10, 12% for 10 years. What does that 1,000 become? So don't treat 1,000 as just a little bit of money. For all the money you make, the faster you get it invested in compounding, the faster you win in your millionaire status. So if you have any questions, go to askloral.com, ASKLORAL, ask a question, make a request, and we'll be back tomorrow.